where we have medics here who will categorize them as either red, yellow, green, or expectant. We'll also do very basic life-saving maneuvers because there's very little we can do. You know, when we're suited up, we can't feel their pulse, can't listen to their lungs, anything like that. So we might try to stop some bleeding, that sort of thing, but we're mainly triaging them, categorizing or prioritizing them for movement into the tents, ambulatory, non-ambulatory. You know, just sometimes the way things play out with a mass cal event, we might have to line them up and prioritize patients by who needs to go in first. Patients we know that we don't have the resources to help so much, patients that are already going to, you know, about to expire, that sort of thing. And then we have the litter carriers, were a big part of that as well. These guys come out here and help us get them loaded up onto the litter, make sure they're secure, and get them quickly transported into the decon kit. But prior to that, we got the log guys, right? So I'm going to hand it off to them. Whoever they are.
Yeah, I'll take it. So if you guys want to grab the litter and everything like that. So generally what log will do, they're kind of the middleman. They take everyone, they'll help get all the information, make sure, again, take that priority, so you want to make sure you get the high priorities in first.
Talk the proper way to move. You gonna talk to the feet first, all that stuff. Make sure they're strapped.
So, I mean, safety is a big issue. We want to make sure they're strapped down. We'll make sure we have litters that have straps. We're always going to travel feet first. The person who is at the head is going to basically be in charge of controlling the movement, telling the person in front where to go, also keeping their eye on the patient.
So and again, they'll bring them up to log. Log again is kind of that middleman. They're trying to figure out if they're amped too. They'll sit them in kind of priority, kind of keep people going through. They'll talk to them if you can, kind of calm them down, kind of see what's going on. If they can talk, like, hey, my arm's broken, be careful with that, or hey, I have these my personal effects, you need to come with me, that kind of thing.
Can I mention something real quick? So, you know, we're all working up to an XE valve, right? Our evaluation. This is critical when it comes to XE valve. We're actually moving patients. We get many gigs here. Walking backwards, not setting the brakes, not making sure that these are secured, are all gigs on the XE valve side. So those are little things you want to pay attention to.
You guys want to walk through what you're doing here?
Yeah. So we're going to put a bodyboard right here. And we're going to make sure that this moves onto the bodyboard. We're locked right now? Yeah, we're locked. Right there. Back. So then we're gonna we get two people. Alright. So we're just gonna interlock our arms like this under the patient. Right? And then ready, lift, lift. Right down. Ready, lift, lift.
Make sure you secure their head.
Make sure you secure the head.
Alright.
One of somebody.
And then it's on the
On cunt anyway. Do you have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions about moving the patient off this into the tent or anything at this moment? No? Cool.
I have a medical question.
You had a question?
Speak up so everybody can hear you.
So my question is, so like we suit up. So how do we check the perfusion of the patient when we suit up? Like, can you do over there?
Check the what?
Perfusion. I don't know what it's called.
So you wouldn't triage mode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Air Forces are triage. They'll be the ones who do that.
Oh, okay.
So
And when we're securing the patient's C-spine, is there a particular person on the litter crew that is in charge of that, like front right or something, or is it just whoever is near the front?
I think
Whoever's at the head.
yeah, whoever's at the head. And they generally have teams too that kind of work. So they'll have one working on the team while other ones packing up over here, and they'll like kind of cycle and just kind of keep it going. Any other questions? No? Cool.
All right, let's get a non-am
So
in
now
there, and then
non-am.
everybody follow behind.
Who's in this station?
Log.
Oh,
We'll help you
okay.
out too.
Okay.
We're all here.
There you
so
go.
Just kind of stop the process.
So, and this is the cut tent.
Big
where
boy voice though.
All right, this is the cut tent where you remove the clothes from the patient so they can get onto the wash tent. The way you do it is you would take the scissors for like up for the shirt. You would go down the middle, or you could go down. You could roll them over and go down the back. And then you want to make sure to go down the sleeves on either side, and then you can pull the shirt off. With the pants, you'd go down either side, and then you can pull the pants off. And once you get it off, you throw it out that zipper, and there's like a waste bin over there. And then some things to think about is they have a tourniquet or something, you have to cut around that. You don't want to like mess with it too much, so get as much clothes off as you can off. Other than that, that's pretty much it. The cut
Keep
tent.
them calm.
Calm.
Oh yeah,
Talking to the patient.
through the whole process, you're always talking to them.
Somebody's always with them.
Always stay with them. Even if they're unconscious, talk to them. Like who knows, maybe they can still hear you or something. Always keep them calm. Always talk to them.
What
And
you
then
doing?
let them know. And if they're conscious, have them help you. Like if you need to roll them, or if you need to sit them up to get the clothes off, remove the clothes easier. Ask them to help. Stuff like that, just basics. But yeah.
Do you have any questions?
With the shoes, if the patient has shoes.
So you would remove the shoes, or you wouldn't pull them off. You would cut them off, and like I was explaining to some of the soldiers earlier, if you take like if we have a blister agent, and if you've got a tennis shoe on and you pull it off, guess what's coming with that? All your skin, everything. So when you're cutting the shoe, you're gonna cut along the side and then peel it off.
Question: when you're cutting off clothing off the patients, how far down you going? They going bucket naked?
They go butt naked,
Okay.
body dotty, everything. And here you would remove jewelry, and it would go into their personal effects bag, glasses, or anything that's with them. Their rings, watches, cell phones if they've got that, wallets. All of that will go into a personal effects bag, which will go with them and be deconned. Any other questions?
I'm Sergeant Kapula. This is the wash tent. Usually when they pass it over, I ask if they're conscious or unconscious, just so that I know if I have to talk to them or not. Depending on, we usually start off with the wash itself. So you talk them through if they're conscious through the whole process. We go from head to toe. So cover the face and always spray towards the hot zone. Everything goes towards the hot zone. Nothing comes up. So you start off with the head, spray over all the hot spots like your armpits and the growing area. The armpits, you just bring your arm out. Depending on the injury, if they have broken arm, you don't want to move it too much. So you get as much as you can. And then, like I said, depending on the injury, like right now, I wouldn't want to roll them or sit them up or anything like that. But if they didn't, we buckle one arm in and then we roll them in. So then they wash the board down, as well as the same thing with the other side. So they'll flip it towards them. We wash it down that way. And we move on to the rinse, and it's just the same process. Same thing, everything goes down, talk them through it, wash them all down, all the hot spots, talk them through it, flip them, or you can sit them up, and I'll show you guys. So the way to like properly sit them up, if they can't sit them up themselves, is you grab their inside of their armpit, and they hold on to you, and then you support the head, then you bring it up, and then one person will go and then wash the back and the board itself. Okay.
Okay.
And you let them down gently, release the head, and then with the feet as well, you also do this, it's all repeat. You bring both feet together, bring them up, wash the board out, wash the butt itself. And then you tell them that they're moving them to the monitoring station. And that's it for wash. Any questions?
Hey, when you're washing them, are you using any kind of detergent, soap, or anything like that, or is it
So
all
for
fresh
this,
water?
one, it's a
Non-dish soap.
yeah, non-dish soap.
It's-
So it'd be that, and then this one is regular water, correct?
So you're washing with soap and water. It's normally Dawn. Is what we use for majority of incidents. But then the water is just water. We try to keep it warm. It gets hot, really hot in the summertime. So it's, yeah. But we try to keep it somewhat warm.
So, do you guys use the brushes and sponges?
Right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So if we start from the beginning again, with the brushes, we want to wash the board. I mean, we don't ever scrub them, so we scrub the board.
Yeah.
And then I also forgot, if they have a bag that I don't know,
Personal bags?
the personal bag. They usually have, so the washing and the rinse. So you do grab their bag, dunk it in the wash. It doesn't matter foam or you gotta get it clean. And then we do the same thing with the rinse, and you give it back to them, and then they get monitored with it. Ice buckets are very important for us personally, all the workers.
Yeah.
But yeah. Any other questions?
Alright, so this is the monitoring section. This is the one that's like the backup, takes the longest, even though it's probably the easiest. This is a JCAD, Joint Chemical Agent Detector. We would use different monitoring for different situations, but for here, since it's a chemical threat, this is what we have. It's pretty simple. You want to keep an inch away from the skin. It's very important that you don't let the tip touch anybody, because then it becomes contaminated. You want to move in a deliberate, slow, zigzag motion across the face, down the body, focusing primarily on the hot spots, the armpits, the groins, in between the fingers and toes, the bottom of the feet, any kind of creases, folds. Also wounds, very important, tourniquets, things that can't be taken off, neck braces, things like that. Once you are sure that the front is clean, we'll have someone flip them over. And then you're going to do the same thing to the back, making, like I said, zigzag, slow, deliberate motions. And then you get the board as well, and then once you're sure that they're clean, send them on through.
What happens if you get a hit?
If it goes off, you got to send them back through. Causes a bit of a backup, obviously, but we got to re-rinse and re-wash their entire body. It doesn't matter if there's only a little bit, we got to get them completely washed again, and then we bring them back. So. Any other questions? I don't think there. Any questions?
What do you do with their personal bag? You scanning that as well?
Yeah.
You would scan that as well.
Hit it real good. Any cloth that's left, really good. We don't have one.
Why not?
No, so in this area, we don't have a cover, and we keep it that way. So for one, the monitoring equipment, so that we can get a accurate reading. We do put the sides up for privacy, because everybody excluding us in this area, has no clothes on. So we do try to give them some privacy, but this will never have a cover ever.
These things
What if
suck.
it's raining?
You're standing out in the rain, and you're in suit, so you'll enjoy it.
These things suck. They go off with exhaust, plastic. Certain types of trees will set them off, so that's why we don't want an enclosed area. Yeah. Anybody else? Oh yeah. 'Cause they don't make you do everything else. What's there to say?
So for the triage tags on the casualties when they come to monitoring, you'll see this contaminated tag right here. You're gonna rip this up. This is for Decon to keep accountability in the monitoring section. And then once they get to log, that's also where we keep accountability of casualties. If you take this off, they're no longer contaminated, they're good to move on. You just throw it on a table that's next to you or somewhere. And that's how we keep another source of accountability through it.
Forgot about that. Sorry about that. Anything else?
Yeah, so for the triage paper, since it's not waterproof, you guys put it in a bag or anything? Because it's going through a lot of water from the beginning.
Nah, we just try to keep it as less ripped as we can, you know? Good?
Alright, once we get to redress, we gotta make sure we don't cross over the line. So when they're handing the patient over, we cannot reach over to the other side, and that will be contaminated as well. And we gotta make sure we stay with the patient the whole time. We're talking to him or her, make sure, just reassuring that they'll be okay. We're gonna lift, ready? And then they're gonna put the blanket under him. And then we're gonna set him back down. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And then we're gonna pull the blanket, and then we're gonna cover him. Right? Make sure we show the tag, that way the medic can grab it.
You only have one. It just has to.
And then we gotta make sure we keep him inside and make sure they're ready for him. If they're not, they're gonna be out in the elements. So keep him inside the whole time. Yep. And then you guys ready? And then the medic's gonna come check on him.
So I'm Sarah McCann, I'm the medic. I work up here in cold zone triage. So I will re-triage a patient here if there was some reason, maybe I noticed something that they didn't notice before, or disagree with the decision. I also may change a triage category in terms of where we're sending somebody if I see that one of the tents is too overwhelmed. If we have a bunch of easy patients come through, I may send someone to the advanced life support tent because there's only easy patients, so it makes sense that they should be able to see some of the easier ones. Same thing if it's only the advanced patients coming through. I may then send some to the basic tent because they all have the same setup, so they all can see the same patients. My job is to try to make sure that they go to the right place where they have the equipment for them, ideally, and then to make sure that if those resources are getting overwhelmed, I'm distributing the wealth here so that no one tent is getting too many patients and can't do their job. The other part that happens here, it's really Lieutenant Kwan who does that. Where is he? He's taking the count, so I'll let him take over that portion of what happens.
All right, so on the back end of all of this whole decon is the logging out of all the patients, both ambulatory, non-ambulatory, and that's how we are graded. That's our metric on how many patients we can get through the whole decon process. C2 higher above, they're always hounding us for the numbers because they want to put it out to the governor or whoever, FEMA, whoever's in charge. That way they can report to the press, make us look good. So we want to get this count as accurate as possible. That way, search and extraction, they counted, hey, we took out 72 bodies. All right, we should have 72 bodies come through the entire decon process. If there's a mismatch, we're missing a body or one extra body, that raises a lot of red flags and questions start going around, and we don't like that. Yep, dead people come through decon too. We just, once they get here, I call up to the OIC, hey, Medcom, FSC.
I can talk to that a little bit. Yeah, so the providers actually need to make the decisions about who is, once they've gone through this process, going to, be living or dead, or we're going to try to save or not. So from here, we'll have a provider come examine if I think somebody may be dead, and just say, yes, I think this may be an expectant patient. We never say expectant. And then when we transport the patient, that patient is covered, and we never bring that patient through the tents because we don't want the living patients to see the dead bodies. So they go to the casualty collection point from here directly, and then FCERT will pick them up. But we can coordinate all that from here as long as we're communicating effectively. That call is by medical though. Nobody can pronounce except for a qualified provider in the medical team. Yeah, so we never say there's a dead patient here. We say there is a package for FCERT. Sounds nicer to the living patients who are still around, right?
Do those package patients get processed after all the living and potential living patients?
So FCERT will have to speak to that, but yes, so essentially there is a single point where those bodies are collected. That's the casualty collection point. From there, FCERT's job is to collect them and send them to mortuaries from there to be processed that way. So essentially from here, all we do is carry them to that casualty collection point and bring our gear back with us.
Any questions? Is medical
Yeah, right here. Come on, all right, let's move on. All right, so once the medic has checked the status of the patient, we're going to move him over. So the person on top, you're going to be calling, right? So we're going to put our arms across. Oh, coming in? And then when we're ready, you're going to call. Ready?
Prepare to lift. Lift. Prepare to lift. Lift.
All right, the next step, we're going to strap him in. If they're unconscious, you're going to strap their arms in. If they're conscious, their arms are going to go outside of the straps. All right, now we're going to remove the brakes.
And they always go feet first. Think about if you were doing, you want to see what's in front of you.
Okay, so I'm going to give you kind of quick and dirty for bed. So first off, we have our first tent that's going to be for vitals. Anybody that's coming out of their suits, we have to monitor them, make sure they're doing well. No, we're going to keep the patient here. Patients don't go over there. But that's for our people, okay? So just know that that's where you guys go. You do your rest cycles that way. For the patient, they get triaged out there, like we talked about. They're going to be sort of stratified and is this this one looks pretty severe, so this is going to go into our what we call ALS tent, which is our slightly more advanced in our life-saving ability. Okay, first tent we have here is kind of BLS, where we would be taking care of a little more basic stuff, some walking, some that just have injuries that may not require that higher level of stabilization. But the idea from med is we're getting them stabilized to get them out. So essentially we'd take this patient, we'd go through here, all right, so you drop them off here for us to take care of. Yeah. All right, so we drop them off here. We'd get them, undressed. All this is off, which you guys have already done pretty much. We're assessing their injuries. We're figuring out what they need to be done to stabilize them. We're constantly monitoring, are they going to be somebody that we can save? Or is this somebody that we wouldn't be able to potentially? Luckily, most of them aren't going to be that way. So we get them stabilized, do whatever medical treatment is needed to get them to the point where we can transport them out of here. From here, we radio up and we say we have this patient that needs this level of care. We need transport via ambulance. If they're walking, we can actually say like they can be in a bus or they can be in a different kind of transport. And then we hold them until C2 essentially tells us we've got transportation ready for them. And then so we'd stabilize them here, and then we would take them into our next tent, which is our admin tent. It's kind of like another check for, he was talking, I can't remember who on the Army side was talking about the numbers. We also have to account for the numbers here. So we have tags and their number here. We take them into this tent. I mean, it's not super exciting over there, it's not a big deal. So we take them in there, we log where they're going, we log where they came from as we come through here so that we can check our numbers both sides. And then from there, we'd have ambulances that can come in here, pick a patient, and go out. That's quick and dirty for med. Any questions? Okay, cool. I think that's the end of the tour, but I'm not sure.
Yep, I think that's it. Thanks, guys.
Please take your tour guide.
Yeah.